guys, welcome to A1
Whoa. I'll let you continue A1, but Animojis is the best feature of all time.
Well, I wouldn't go that far,
What?
but it is a really cool feature.
Man, you better stop playing.
Okay, so let's just get my Animoji experience out the way first, then we'll move on. How about that?
That's better.
So when I first got the iPhone, Animojis were one of the first things I tried. I used it a lot the first few days. It was a really cool function and was funny when sending to my friends and sticking them in randomly in normal conversation. But after the first few days, I didn't really use it at all. It is a nice option to have besides GIFs or emoticons, but it's not something I use daily, to be honest. Animojis is a cool feature, but shouldn't be the reason to buy the phone. Happy?
No, not really, but whatever. Continue.
It's been a week with the iPhone 10 and by now everyone's already seen unboxings, and to be honest, it's the same like any other iPhone, so I'll skip it this time. As someone who has all Apple products, I was excited to get my hands on this phone and test it out. So I'll just share what I've noticed in the 1 week I've been using it. I won't be going over the camera since I did do a video comparing the Note 8 and iPhone 10 camera, so make sure to check that out. I'll start off with the good stuff and then move on to the bad. First off, the obvious one is the missing home button. I was skeptical at first, but I got used to it within a day. Now it just seems very natural and just feels right. When I was actually making the Note 8 vs iPhone 10 camera video, I was constantly swiping up on the Note 8 to go back home. I really do love how Apple handled the no home button situation with the gesture. Now sometimes I do swipe up thinking to bring up the control center to turn off the Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, but I'm sure over time that won't be a problem at all. The gesture that replaces the home button is definitely a positive for me. Second obvious one is the unibrow at the top of the screen. When they first announced the 10 with this design, I think it's safe to say the notch wasn't the most welcome feature, but it didn't really bother me at all when using the phone. Of course, it would look better with no notch, but as I was using the phone, it's nice knowing exactly where to swipe from to bring down the control center. Like if there was no notch and you wanted to bring down the control center but kept bringing down the notification page, it would get kind of annoying after a while. So knowing exactly where to swipe down from is nice if you think about it like that. I'm not saying the notch is perfect, and I'll get to that later, but in my daily use, it didn't affect me at all. Face ID was another thing I was skeptical of, but it works better than expected. It unlocks almost instantly and I don't have to readjust my face to get it unlocked. Unlike with Touch ID, sometimes I had to readjust my finger, or if my finger was wet or had a little bit of sweat on them, it didn't work. I was afraid that it would unlock the phone before I was even able to read my notifications, but the fact that you have to swipe up after the face is unlocked is really nice. Face ID worked almost every time except for a few times where I think I was a little bit too close to the screen. But other than that, Face ID worked every time I needed to pay for something or to log into an app. For me, Face ID is a welcome feature and it's been a good experience so far. I'd rather have this than a fingerprint on the back of the phone. I feel like the power button isn't talked about as much, but I really do appreciate the fact that the power button is longer now. It's about double the size of the old power button and it's a lot easier to find without looking down at the phone. I know I got used to the placement of the power button on the 7 Plus, but the longer power button on the 10 made the switch a lot easier. It's a small change, but has had a big positive impact for me in my daily use. The screen is amazing to look at and it just looks great with anything I do. But for me, to be honest, coming from the 7, I didn't see a huge difference. It wasn't like going from an iPhone 3G to an iPhone 4. But nonetheless, the OLED looks amazing and you won't be disappointed. It is a very welcome feature on the iPhone, and iPhone users can now stop being jealous of Samsung phones. On the topic of screens, here's the screen size compared to the 7 Plus. The screen is taller, but I think the 7 Plus is a little bit wider. I honestly love the look and size of the iPhone 10. I don't have the smallest hands, but I also don't have the largest, so the 7 Plus was a little uncomfortable to use with one hand. The iPhone 10 fits perfectly in my hand and I'm able to reach all the places on the screen a lot easier with a peace of mind. I like how this year Apple just put the word iPhone on the back and nothing else to make it look really clean. And it's just nice after seeing the same design over and over again to see something new from Apple. That's the good stuff I've experienced. And if you're wondering about the camera, go check out my comparison. But even though I'm an Apple guy, I do have to review it fairly. A lot of the stuff that I had a bad experience with can probably be fixed with updates, but as of right now, these are some of the things that I experienced during the week. The main thing I didn't like was the way to switch between apps. It just didn't feel fast or natural at all. Pressing the home button twice is much better in my opinion. Sometimes I would switch to the previous app instead of seeing what apps were open, and it got a little bit annoying. I wish we had an option of triple clicking the power button to look at all the open apps. The triple click works for other functions, but not that. While we are on the topic of switching between apps, deleting apps is very inefficient. Right now, once you get into the open apps, you have to hold one of the apps and then swipe up, instead of swiping up right away. It's just an unnecessary extra step, I think. And I still want to see a button to be able to clear all apps at once like the Note 8. Another thing that I really didn't like is the fact that we can't have the battery percentage showing anymore. I understand that there's no room, but even having it small inside a battery would be better than not having anything there. It's annoying to swipe down on the control center just to see the battery percentage. It might just be me, but every time I get a new iPhone, that's the first thing I turn on. Maybe Apple doesn't want us to see how slow the 10 charges or how fast the battery dies. I don't know, but it just bothers me. One thing I did notice with Face ID is that it can't unlock your face when the phone is horizontal. Now you might be thinking, why in the hell would you ever need to unlock your phone horizontally? Well, let me tell you a real life situation. I usually watch something on my phone horizontally when I'm eating alone, so I was eating pizza and I got up to go get a drink and I came back and my phone screen was off. So when I sat back down, I tapped it and didn't move the position of the phone, but the phone just sat there and the screen turned off again. Now the reason for this is because I forgot to change the auto lock to a longer duration, but it's just something I noticed. And I had greasy hands, so I didn't want to turn the phone, unlock it, and turn it back horizontally to get the phone dirty. It's not a big deal at all, but just something I experienced that caught me off guard when it didn't recognize my face when the phone was in horizontal mode. All the apps and iOS as a whole isn't optimized, and this is the first time I've actually seen this many bugs on iOS. It seems like it's still in beta version. A lot of the apps still have huge chins and just randomly freezes here and there that have caused unpleasant experiences at times. I'm disappointed in Apple since the software is one thing they are always rock solid on. I'm sure with an update all the apps will be optimized and iOS will be a lot better. So the one thing about the notch that annoys me is when I'm watching a video. I watch a lot of YouTube and you can't really utilize the whole screen without the notch being in the way. If you pinch out to make the video full screen, then the notch blocks a part of the video. So the screen size is about the same as the 8 when watching a video in normal view. That's my only complaint with the notch, and I hope to see some creative workarounds for this. This last one isn't really a bad experience, but I'm worried about the silver edge of the iPhone. The Space Gray probably won't have this problem, but I'm afraid that it'll scratch up like crazy over time like the back of the old iPods. I would have liked to see a matte finish instead, but we'll see how well it holds up in a couple months. I just wanted to quickly go over the battery life. When I don't use my phone that much, like watching hours of YouTube, I can easily get to the night. But when I normally use my phone, I can't make it without charging my phone at least once during the day. The iPhone 10 for my use, I definitely can't make it past 24 hours. In any situation, I have to charge it at night. But it's not a huge problem since I do have a charger right on my bed. I'm hoping Apple comes out with a battery case though, since sometimes during the day I do run below 20%. Overall though, I really am enjoying the iPhone. It is really fast and the size is perfect for me because the body of the 7 Plus was too big and the 7 screen was too small. It's a nice little compromise. Everything people were worried about isn't a big deal and was just overhyped. The notch and lack of home button especially is something that becomes second nature. If Apple can optimize iOS 11 for the iPhone 10, then I think it would definitely be competing for the top spot. But right now, the software issues have brought it down a notch or two. I haven't noticed any lag whatsoever, which is always a plus, and here are my 2 cents if you're thinking of upgrading. If you have a 7, it might be worth it since it is a totally new design, and I wanted something new and the smaller form factor is what drew me in, and I'm happy with the decision. If you have a 6S and earlier, then I would say either get the 7 or 10, because the iPhone 8 honestly isn't any better than the 7, besides wireless charging, and the 7 is cheaper now. And I personally like the colors of the 7 better, and they don't have glass backs, which people have already been reporting their backs being shattered. But if you're sick of the same old design, I would definitely recommend the 10 then. So I'm saying skip the 8. And as for the camera, make sure to check out the iPhone 10 vs Note 8 camera comparison I did to see the results. Also, I want to shout out my main lover of tech. He just dropped an S8 Plus vs Note 8 camera comparison. He's a very passionate guy about tech and is on the come up. Make sure to check him out and subscribe. I'll link everything down below. Thanks for watching. Hope this helped. If it did, hit that like button, subscribe. Until next time, peace.